coffee and today's guest here with me, so we're ready to roll. Welcome to our Circular Coffee Break podcast, where we will be casually talking about everything circular and beyond. When we started the podcast, our vision was to build a community to accelerate the circular development and to provide you all out there with new ideas and insights on circularity and more broadly sustainability. Now, we cannot do that without all of you listening out there at the moment. So we're very eager to hear your thoughts, ideas, feedback, as we're always looking to improve and develop the podcast to bring you even better content going forward. So please leave a comment on your favorite podcasting platform or drop us a note at circularcoffeebreak@gmail.com if you have any ideas or suggestions for what we should be doing going forward or what we should stop to do going forward. Excited about today's episode. My guest today is an accomplished, passionate cosmetic expert and leader. He started off his professional career with a PhD at the Université de Franche-Comté with a focus on human skin surface properties. From there, he went to Pierre Fabre Dermo Cosmetics in Toulouse, France, before joining Oriflame Cosmetics in Stockholm, Sweden in 2009, where he held roles like Senior Director of Science and Innovation. Since 2022, he is Vice President R&D and Sustainability at Lumene, a Nordic beauty company established in 1970 in Finland. I'm really looking forward to talking about circularity in the beauty and cosmetics industry, and more specifically about Lumene's circular beauty vision and products. Welcome to the show, Alain Mavon.
Thank you, Michael. What a pleasure to join you today, and definitely to join this Circular Coffee Break. It's a pleasure to talk about circularity. That's definitely a topic which we are passionate about it, and glad that you created this podcast. So let's deep dive.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And I have been following Lumene already for many years. And you have been in the beauty and cosmetics industry for more than 25 years altogether. So maybe to get us started, could you tell us a little bit about your background, your personal journey, and also how you see the development of sustainability and circularity in the industry?
Indeed, yes. 25 years plus in cosmetic industries. I think it's turned into as a passion. It's a job, but it's a passion. And as you said, I started in Besançon in France, focusing on some very, physical-chemical aspect of skin. Joining Pierre Fabre and the cosmetic part, focusing, initially Pierre Fabre is a pharmaceutical company, so very much driven around the active ingredients and kind of the chemistry aspects. And I moved to Sweden. I wanted to expand on my international career. So joining Oriflame in Sweden was great because we were, in head office, 40 different nationalities working together. And at that time already, Oriflame was much more focused on natural ingredient. And you see where I'm going as now joining Lumene as when I was in Sweden, I was seeing what was happening on the other side of the Baltic Sea and seeing this, the Lumene, how they have been capable of translating nature into beautiful products, but also with a very strong spin on sustainability, far advanced compared to many of us. So, and thanks to this question, because it made me reflect on my career. So, as I said, moving from more pharmaceutical, cosmetic-driven company, Pierre Fabre, moving to more natural ingredients-driven in Oriflame, and now really deep diving on the sustainability and the circularity with Lumene. So I think it's more also toward my value, probably also towards what we see on the environment, the global warming, all these issues ongoing. And at the same time, I think cosmetics are needed for people. It makes them feel much more happy, much more beautiful. So it's how to make cosmetic industry much more responsible, I would say. We are still a strong provider of beauty, of well-being, but at the same time a strong providers of waste. So we need to, and we are taking resource from the environment, using natural ingredients. So it's how to make this balance much more relevant and definitely being more respectful for the environment, still providing people strong products. So yes, so I think my career is driven by these values to be passionate about the skin and the beauty, while delivering much more responsible product. And that's also why I feel very happy having joined this Lumene, which has been definitely on sustainability for many years, very, very deep embedded into the culture and the DNA of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And naturally, I mean, beauty goes beyond your own beauty and can be found in so many things. So I think there is a natural connection between the industry and the broader care of the environment. Now, following up on what you said, climate change, the scarcity of natural resources, and many other issues around environmental and sustainable development have basically put a lot of pressure on the industry to rethink the sources of its natural ingredients. At the same time, every year, large amounts of byproducts with rich potential for cosmetic activities are generated in various industries, including agriculture, food, forestry, etc. But they're not really utilized. Instead, they're treated as waste. Lumene, as you already pointed out, has been a pioneer in circularity, and it has launched its first upcycled Cloudberry extract already in 2001, which is really amazing looking at where we are today. And in recent years, the upcycling trend has taken hold within the personal care industry. Now, where do you see the main opportunities and challenges along the process? Where do you see the biggest potential going forward for Lumene, but also the broader industry?
Indeed, considering I think the triple challenge the planet are facing, global warming, which is we see that every day, biodiversity loss. It's not fully. We can feel it, and it's measured now. We have this 70% loss, which is dramatic, and also the excess of pollution. So, I think we need to be mindful of the resource available, and the concept of circular thinking is probably the only way forward if we want to continue, having business, serving our consumer with beautiful products, and not only cosmetic industry, but you see the entire industry and the entire economy. So, circular thinking, circular beauty for us is almost a kind of a daily thinking, and in fact, as you said, our first side stream ingredients that reached the market was in 2001. It was not called upcycled because I think the word itself, upcycle, was created at the same time, 20 years ago. But yeah, and today we have 30, if I'm 29 or 30 raw materials that are upcycled. And I think that's the way forward, as these contain a very powerful active ingredient and relevant to deliver performance on skin. Back to this cloudberry extract, it was the cloudberry seed oil. A funny fact, maybe, but before the seeds, when the juice was extracted, the seeds were burned. So it was a way to create some value, but it's so much more valuable to extract
absolutely.
that and get this cloudberry seed oil, which is full of carotenoid, flavonoid, which are very great ingredients for the skins. They are antioxidants, so they bring benefits to the skin. So I think the point of the challenge, and maybe the challenge and or the opportunity are lying together. It's going probably beyond the boundaries of the cosmetic field. So we need to partner, and here we have been partnering and continue this partnership with food industry, with forest industry. They are providers of various elements, but also have side stream and working together. And sometimes it's not easy, to create these boundaries, creating a full supply chain between these industries. But it's getting more and more an opportunity, and people sees it. So that's where the opportunity lies. It's working at the interface, working more as into an ecosystem of partners that support each other. And the example of we mentioned the Cloudberry, but I can mention another one with Pfizer. They have also producing a lot of food products, but they also have side stream. And recently they built a full factory to produce xylitol. And xylitol is a sweetener, but we use it in our product as well as a moisturizer. It's a polyol like glycerol, so it's deliver hydration. So through that we can really build ingredients locally sourced and being mindful with the environment. So that's I think where there is a big potential. Continue on that journey. I think there is a very untapped resource that would be useful to create value out of it.
Absolutely, and I think what you mentioned is really interesting because it's thinking beyond. It's thinking outside of the box, not using the traditional ingredients, but think about how can I replace it? How can I do things differently? How can I use side streams, waste streams from other industries? And I mean, in your role, you are actually combining R&D and sustainability. And that's a trend we're seeing in some companies, but by far not all companies. How do you see these two areas come together, specifically also in the context of what you just mentioned, the ideation of really new ingredients that come from sources that you maybe have traditionally not thought about in many areas? And where do you see the future development when it comes to sustainability-centric R&D activities in the cosmetics and personal care industry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And in our case, it was, the sustainability was driven by the technology side, by the ingredient side, which was naturally sitting under R&D, research and development. And I think it makes sense if we think also about, calculating the CO2 emission. There is it's quite data, technology, raw materials driven. So that's why it sits, I think, pretty well into together with the R&D. Within our organization, we also have the packaging team that is working together within the team. So also we are falling again back to more the chemistry technology side, and all together our products are basically a mix of ingredients in a pack. So it makes sense to have that. I think where we are really not started, it has started before, but what we are pushing, and I'm not sure if I have the full answer for the end of the question, but I think sustainability is not just an R&D thing. It's something that should go across the entire company, from and horizontally across the different functions, from the one designing up to the one selling. But also vertically, from the top management to every workers, every employee. So it's, I think, and our activities now, it's making it really holistic. And I think, I don't know if sustainability should sit under R&D. I think we'll continue that way. It works for us, but definitely what should be sustainability thinking, circularity thinking should be. And, if we think sustainability, it's also the social aspect. So it's something that lies into human resource. No, it's really integrating all the function, having a clear, holistic view, holistic teams that are involved, from finance, governance, HR, marketing, production, manufacturing, R&D. So I think maybe we own the drive, but it should be holistic. Otherwise, it would never work. It can't be just sitting in R&D full stop. So,
yeah, absolutely, and I think what you're saying is absolutely right. That it goes across the company and even more. I mean, what you mentioned earlier, the ecosystem, the broader value chain, is changing significantly with circularity. In that context, so it needs to go across the whole company and even beyond in order to work.
And definitely, if I may add, just calculating our CO2 emission, scope 1, 2, 3, if we want to reduce, and that we are engaging in that journey, we can't do it on our own. We need to have the network of partners, suppliers, customers, and consumer involved. That's how we can reach it. Alone, we would not make any difference. Together, we will get it.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you see that cooperation? Has that become easier as more and more companies and also consumers are naturally looking at the topic? How do you see the development in really forming these partnerships and make them work?
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. We see, and we also have the EU that is pushing the
Mm.
regulatory landscape. The CSRD that has been just released this cosmetic
Mm.
regulation that is coming will push us to be even more active. But already, and definitely in Finland, coming from abroad, I'm quite impressed where Finland has already this almost natural thinking, not just finished or within the Finnish state, within the Finnish industry, where it's quite it's almost a given where
Mm.
we need to think. Oh, circularity, sustainability is part of the way of thinking. It's not something you have to say, it's there. So it's just now how we make it, how we accelerate, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think that is something that has to be there. It has to be part of the natural mindset of the natural thinking process. It cannot be added on or basically required. It needs to be something that you have in the culture, that you have in the approach, that you have in the thinking. So I fully agree. Now, you also mentioned packaging, and that's naturally another area where Lumene has been very active. For example, by introducing a bio-based jar for the cosmetics. How do you see the trend there? Is there some new developments you foresee happening when it comes to packaging?
Indeed, as I mentioned, and cosmetic industry, not just us, all of us are provider of waste also. So we need to find way to reduce that. And we have at Lumene our strategy based on these 5 R's, the reduce, recycle, replace, renew. And yeah, you mentioned the example of bio-based jar. We did also this pilot with Sulapack.
Mm.
It's a bio-based
Yes.
and biodegradable packaging. That was very, very interesting, great learning as well. Maybe one of the challenges that's inherent to our products. Our products contain water, so the product themselves were started to biodegrade the pack, making the
Yes.
shelf life a bit
Mm.
shorter than the free.
Mm.
Traditionally, we have 3 years. Here it was shorter. We brought it to 9 months, which was maybe one of the major limitations for that. But very relevant innovation and setting, learning how we could go to reduce and provide more relevant packaging. Bio-based jar is also one we have just released this year. It's the beauty of it. It's the original of the oil instead of fossil is coming from the Finnish forest. So we get back to
Mm.
closer to the Finnish
Yes.
nature. It's a side
Yes.
stream from the forest industry, and
Mm.
out of this pulp and paper that they are producing, there is also some distilled oil which it's extracted. So, and I was saying,
Interesting.
th- there is a discovery of there is oil in the Finnish forest. So, but so it's a renewable oil coming from the Finnish
Yeah.
forest, and out of this oil you can produce plastic, the same plastic as the one from the fossil, so that need to be recycled. But the origin is bio-based and a renewable source, which make it great. Where we see also the trend is to reduce and continue reduce, and that's also something we want to embrace. Today, our pack contains double layers, but there is space in between. So the idea would be to remove this space, not to reduce the size of the pack inside, so there will be the same quantity of products to our consumer. And, we are not falling onto the shrinkflation, but we can shrink the pack. By shrinking the pack, we will have less plastic. We can shrink also the outer pack, this box outside. And we did few calculation, and that would be for next year. By having a smaller jar, still 50 ml of product inside, a smaller pack will have double amount of boxes per pallet, meaning that we'll use twice less truck to transport them. So
Yes. Yes.
by starting small at the beginning, we can have an impact along the full full chain, and at the end having less quantity of pack to be recycled. So I think that's at the moment where the trend is moving. So and we see also maybe the outer pack, these carton packs where we have a lot of information about the products. It might turn digital. That's also, there are some trends or some discussion on the EU, because there are mandatory information we should provide to the consumer, but maybe it could be digital, just having a QR code. And then we can potentially move away from this outer pack.
Yeah. No, I think these are really interesting trends, and they, at the end of the day, all these changes have, as you just outlined, a much broader impact. The smaller packaging does not only have an impact on the usage of packaging material, but it has logistics impacts, usability impacts, information provisioning impacts, and so on and so forth. So it's not a very easy approach with all these different aspects. Now, the cosmetics, beauty, and personal care segment is very personal, very individual. It's basically very focused on the individual, meaning people need to believe in the products they're buying and in the fact that good care was taken in their development and production. How do you see the market acceptance and demand for sustainable and circular cosmetics and beauty products? Do you see any differences when it comes to customer groups like gender, age, geography? I mean, you mentioned the digital provisioning of information, for example. I would assume that's very different depending on what geography, what age group you're talking about. How do you see the acceptance and the uptake of sustainable and circular cosmetics?
Yes, absolutely. The demand is growing for sure. We are probably, the entire industry is probably, very much driven by marketing. So we are providing our customer with a lot of information, a lot of stamps, a lot of icons to demonstrate our product. So, and definitely it's a jungle, but definitely the demand is there. At the same time, we see that so far the majority of consumers believe that it's our own responsibility, to be more sustainable. That's definitely the main point, and we don't see much differences between male and female, even though I would say it's mainly female that are buying our products. So, and in average, in Europe, and it's mainly UK-based data, but I guess it's applying for Europe. That's about only 16% of the consumer, are more likely to purchase a sustainable brand or products that are really aligned with their value, meaning they are even, or when I say 16%, these people are willing to pay more, even in a challenging financial time at the moment. So, but if we dig a bit more into the groups, definitely this 16% go up to 25% when it's come to the Gen Z or the millennials, the younger generation, which are much more aware of the impact of being non-sustainable. So it's and often this one maybe not have the highest income, but they are ready to pay more. Obviously, if I mention the baby boomers, or they are maybe not that much interested, which is a pity. So we need to, that's part of our job as well, to explain the value of it. So then from a geographical point of view, definitely consumers in the Nordics are much more interested in sustainable products, probably due to a stronger link with nature. We see it definitely growing in Germany, UK. We are selling in China. It's not still a big focus for Chinese consumer, but we see, and there is a lot of, it's kind of good news. We see a lot of weak signals showing that it's moving. They are also getting more and more concerned. So, but yeah, it's not yet mainstream, I would say. And that's, I guess, we have to be also more mindful to our consumer. We should give them more simpler way to make their choice.
Yeah, I think it's all about convenience, availability, and understanding at the end of the day.
And price, in a way, we have to embed that in the overall price product and not charge for extra. So it's I think it's part of our duty to define the best. Again, it's part of defining really eco-design products which deliver performance for the skin or the air, and at the same time reducing the impact on the planet. We have no choice. So I think the company that would not embrace that will not survive.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Now, the coffee is empty. Before we wrap up, let's assume you have a crystal ball and you can look into the future. Where do you think we will be in, let's say, 5 years when it comes to circularity and maybe more broadly sustainability in the beauty and cosmetics and personal care industry? Where do you see the developments go?
So it was a delicious coffee, I must say. But I don't have the crystal ball, but we know the facts, 1.1 degrees with this summer being the hottest since 100 years, 70% biodiversity loss, etc., etc. So again, the future need to be circular. I don't see the other way forward. Otherwise, we will reach some states where it will be tough for us. So we have to evolve. We have to make the products, create design product, build the economy differently. So in 5 years' time, I hope we will be, we will be challenged. We state we want to be leader in circular beauty at Lumene. I hope plenty of other company will try to challenge this leadership, meaning that we will be a lot of company embracing that journey. And I'm very, again, back to what I said about Finland, I'm really impressed by the fact that, and that probably that's which give us still a competitive edge, as Finland is really, I think, a leading country around circularity. So yes, so that's where where the cosmetic industry should go. Circular beauty is the way forward.
Perfect. Yeah, I really love the vision of companies competing not only on the commercial space, but really competing around circularity and sustainability. I think that's a very good vision to end on and to look forward to. As mentioned, the coffee is empty, so it's time to wrap up. There's a lot of other things we could still discuss and a lot of developments. Thanks, Alain, for joining me today and for giving us a glimpse of an insight on what's happening in the cosmetics and beauty and personal care industry.
Thank you very much, Michael, and a pleasure having joined this circular coffee break. A lovely break. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. For all of you listening out there, I hope this gave you a new perspective on a new industry, some more insights on what is happening, what can be happening, what can be done. And maybe you can take inspiration or one or the other idea of what we discussed today and take it forward into your own business or personal context. If you like the podcast, you can help us grow the Circular Coffee Break community by giving us a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever other podcast platform you're using to spread the word and get more people to join us and hopefully accelerate the transition towards a circular world. Also, please remember to subscribe to the podcast. There's new episodes coming up on a bi-weekly basis, and we would love to basically see you here for all the future episodes as well. So make sure you stay in the loop. With that, the only thing left is to thank you for joining us today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all here at the Circular Coffee Break podcast.